Dr. Matt Harris, I do want you to answer this question as well. I'll repeat it. What can the police officers do and the community do to come together and build better relationships?
Sure. Our children and our families' first interaction with law enforcement needs to be positive. It needs to be a positive interaction. And that needs to start from day one. That needs to start with children. That needs to start with law enforcement being members of the community, getting involved, teaching, coaching, building relationships with community leaders. There's a lot that's going on nationally in the last few years. Coffee with a Cop. You've seen that. The 9 p.m. routine. There's things that law enforcement has done for the last few years and is continuing to do to try to build better relationships with minority communities, and it's really, really important. As I said, the relationships are important, but that first interaction has to be positive. And law enforcement officers go into this profession to do good, and we have to remember that. And we have to remember that the cops are the good guys. The cops aren't the bad guys. They're there to help. No other profession are you expected to be a counselor, somebody who breaks up a domestic violence incident, somebody who's looking for a lost child. It's a very, very diverse profession. It's not just about the gun. It's not just about the badge. It's about building relationships with your community. It's about investing in your community. It's about sometimes having those officers live in those communities which they serve. And situations like this have a detrimental effect, unfortunately, on the negative side, on law enforcement. My wife told me this weekend she had to have a conversation with my child about cops being the bad guys. And how does she feel about that narrative that's kind of going on right now? So we need to change that. And there's an emotional toll. And you have to think about some of the protests that went awry in those officers, their spouses and their children, sending them to work that day, and wondering if they're going to come home, wondering if they're going to be one of the 750 officers that were assaulted over the course of the last couple of weeks. And that's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that that anarchists and gangs